All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open a case file, and this one was never, ever supposed to see the light of day. We're talking about a conspiracy that ties together green energy, some seriously high-tech murder, and corruption that goes all the way to the top.
So, this leaked dossier, it paints a picture of a company that is just rotten to the core. And you know what? The clock is ticking. So, let's dive right in.
Okay, so our target, a company called Nephilex Winds. They're billed as America's biggest green energy company. Publicly, it's all about innovation, saving the planet. But behind that shiny, clean facade, yeah, there's a really dark reality. So on the one hand, you've got Nephilex, this champion of renewable energy, right? They're raking in massive government subsidies, the execs are driving around in flashy cyber trucks. But then you pull back the curtain, and what you see is a total financial disaster, a sinking ship being propped up by cartel loans, and a really disturbing spike in employee deaths.
I mean, this company is just bleeding out. We're talking a 70% stock price collapse in just the last 18 months. That's a free fall. And that kind of desperation has forced the board to take some pretty deadly measures just to keep their heads above water.
So the big question is, how does a failing energy giant like this even stay afloat? Well, the answer is pretty horrifying. They figured out how to turn tragedy into profit. And they're doing it with a scam that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction.
It all kicks off with something called dead peasant insurance. And believe it or not, this is a real thing, though it's super controversial. Basically, a company takes out a life insurance policy on one of its employees. But here's the kicker. When that employee dies, the company gets the payout, not the family. The company. We're talking millions.
Now, you might think, okay, that's messed up, but they're just waiting for accidents, right? Nope. Nephilex isn't waiting around. According to this file, they've got a way to create these accidents on demand. And the murder weapon, it's a tiny, remote-controlled neural microchip, codenamed GLW369-Z, and they're secretly implanting it into their own workers.
So here's how this whole horrifying system apparently works. It's a four-step process. First, they implant an engineer with this chip, and they just pitch it as, a productivity enhancer. No big deal. Then, step two, someone somewhere flips a hidden kill switch. This floods the person's brain with suicidal thoughts, just overwhelming despair. Step three, the death is ruled a suicide. It's clean, no foul play. And finally, step four, Nephilex cashes in on that corporate-owned life insurance policy. Millions of dollars.
And when you look at this, wow, these aren't just names and numbers on a table. This is the human cost. We're talking about real people, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, some with big families. And their deaths generated millions for Nephilex. Look at that last one, Samuel Sheen, $3 billion, a $3 billion payout, straight to the company.
Okay, so this is obviously way more than just some twisted insurance scam. If you follow the money, and you always follow the money, right? It leads you into this massive web of corruption and cartels. So the story in the file goes like this. Years of terrible business deals under their president, Martin Squeezco, left the company with massive debt. So what do? They make a deal with the devil. In 2023, they start taking hundreds of millions in loans from a cartel boss named Miguel Coronado. The cartel then uses Nephilex, this big green energy company, as a giant washing machine for its dirty money, laundering it as investments. But the company still kept failing. And when the margin calls started coming in, well, that's when the accidents really started to ramp up.
And make no mistake, the cartel's control here is absolute. They're not just partners. They're holding $30 million in untraceable bearer bonds and pure gold as collateral. It's all stashed in a fortified safe house. Yeah, this isn't just a loan anymore. At this point, it's basically ownership.
So you have to be asking yourself, how on earth does something this big, this criminal, stay hidden? How is no one investigating this? Well, they have the ultimate insurance policy, and its name is blackmail.
The file alleges that the cartel has a vault, and in this vault is all sorts of compromising material on some of the most powerful people in the country. We're talking about footage from wild, drug-fueled parties on yachts. And look at this list of compromised officials. You've got senators, a vice president, even a Supreme Court justice. With that kind of dirt, you can bet any investigation gets shut down before it even gets started. And this rot, this culture of blackmail and murder, it just infects everything it touches. It trickles down from the very top of Washington, D.C. to the most personal, intimate relationships within the company itself. Just look at this quote from the head data analyst, Clem Guttenberg. It's destroying lives at every single level.
So, you've got this untouchable criminal network, protected from the very top. What do? Well, according to the file, a mysterious, anonymous donor decides to fight fire with fire. They initiate a final, desperate, and let's just say very off-the-books response.
And that response comes in the form of a $5 million contract. This contract activates a team known only as the family. Think of them as a cleanup crew for problems that officially don't exist. You've got Claudia, the boss, running the whole show from a tea shop in Queens. Rex, the fixer, he's an ex-CIA Black Ops legend. Baby Luke is the hacker who can get into literally any system. Then there's Priyanka, the honey trap, a former Miss Universe who disarms you before she destroys you. And finally Canute, the muscle, a gentle giant who can, well, pulp a skull like a grape. Their mission is simple: take out the key players and burn this entire conspiracy to the ground.
So, the family has been hired to burn it all down. But that leaves us with one last, chilling question, doesn't it? In a world this corrupt, when you have to hire assassins to go hunt the monsters, who's paying them? Who is really pulling the strings?